So I better start with a joke that my daughter Leah told me the other day. A guy goes into a doctor. The doctor tells him, I have 2 pieces of news for you. One is bad news and the other one is even worse. What would you like me to start with? He said, okay, start with the bad news. The bad news is that you have 24 hours to live. Okay, so what is the even worse news? That I forgot to call you yesterday. Thank you, Leah. So kids are random, and so is the state of cybersecurity today. What we see that customers are investing hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in cybersecurity. They have the perception that they are indeed secured, but in reality, what they see is that they still get infected with ransomware. They still get breached. They still have 0 days affecting them, etc., etc. It all starts, by the way, from the Bible. The imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, from the book of Genesis. And when we think about it, what our businesses need is innovation that matters. When I say innovation that matters, I'm meaning that in the space of cybersecurity, when we hear all kinds of buzzwords like AI, deep learning, machine learning, cognitive, behavioral, heuristic, all kinds of buzzwords that marketing crazy guys are thinking about, the customers need value. They need the value of blocking attacks before they cause damage. Now, this is something that in Checkpoint, when we talk about the innovation, all of our innovation from the ground up have one thing in the philosophy in mind of blocking attacks before they cause damage. And I'd like to show a few examples of that. A guy gets an email link to his phone. Does it come from a friend or from a foe? What happens before he clicks or after he clicks the link? So let's see what happens in the background in the Checkpoint architecture. It gets inspected. The link does payload analysis. It sees that it's a suspicious file name. Path analysis, it sees that it has low lexicographic store. And domain analysis, it sees that it's a new malicious domain. So all of this, something that is called Cadet, part of a big data that comprised something that is called Threat Cloud, has the ability to share threat intelligence across network, cloud, endpoint, mobile, and Internet of Things, and basically is a big data lake of indicator of compromise, IOC. Now you see here some interesting stats. It has the Threat Cloud has 86 billion transactions per day. In comparison, Google has 6 billion. It detects 700,000 malware detection a day, out of which is 7,000 0 days. 0 days, I mean never been seen before. If you upload it to VirusTotal, you will not see one engine that was scanning it before, etc., etc. This is the biggest data lake in the world containing indicators of compromise. Now what happens next when the user clicks on it, he gets the page blocked. But not only that, the power of shared threat intelligence, that this block is shared across the entire arena, whether it's endpoint, whether it's cloud, whether it's IoT, and of course it started with mobile. So this is the real, true value of shared threat intelligence using our threat cloud. Now I want to talk something about real-time prevention. And to show what real-time prevention really means, I want to show you this video.
오케이 따라가는데요. 자, 이걸 받아냅니다. 다시 던지고. 자, 리시브. 왼쪽. 시간차. 오케이. 또 받아냅니다. 쫓아갑니다. 오케이. 엄청난 발리가. 묘기예요. 그대로 넘어갑니다. 스파이크. 얼굴 맞고. 다시 맞고. 그대로 스파이크. 오우. 레이딘 찬스. 백어택. 블로킹.
So this is from the Korean volleyball league. I was not able to verify the authenticity of the video. We chose too good to be true, but yet again, it's very funny. So it's a true example of what real-time prevention means. So how do we do in Check Point real-time threat prevention? We do it with something very simple, yet very effective, called threat extraction. What happens in threat extraction when a document gets inside your organization? It's being extracted of potentially unsafe elements like macros, like embedded executables, OLEs, etc., etc. In that way, you basically get a reconstructed safe document. But what is even more effective, especially when we're talking about cases of CVs and purchase requests, is the ability to photocopy the document and basically convert it to PDF. By that, by the way, we eliminate all potential threats, we're not even scanning it if it has any malware or not. We're basically taking a photo of the document and construct it into a PDF. So this is very effective. This is what the industry analysts are saying about it. Perhaps the most impressive element of Check Point's malware analysis approach is the ability to capture an email attachment, analyze it, and render the content for the end user or security team while the malware is mitigated. Another important thing in real-time prevention and in innovation that matters is protection against phishing attacks. 76 organizations have experienced phishing attack in the past year. This is a statistic that is very startling. But in order to really understand what phishing means, I want you to see this video. So, how do we protect against phishing in Check Point? We do it with something called zero phishing. When a user gets a link to click on the email, for example, an Office 365 website, we look at the website, we do something called a deep AI analysis using IP reputation check, URL similarity, title similarity, and visual similarity. You can see here that it compares the visuality of the two websites look-alike, and it sees that it looks like Office 365, yet it is not the domain of Office 365. It sees that the domain was registered only 3 days ago. So this means that this is a 100% phishing website, and the verdict is issued in seconds. What I showed you here is like what happens under the hood, but this is it happens in a split second, all of this advanced checks. And in effect, not all vendors perform real-time prevention, Gen 5 real-time prevention. So this is an example of one of our competitors. Its name is Palo Alto. I'm giving them free advertisement. And it takes them at least 5 minutes to move from detection of an attack to prevention of an attack, because they cannot perform, they do not have threat extraction, or they do not have real-time threat emulation, sandboxing, so they cannot perform it. But not only Palo Alto, also one of our other competitors with their advanced malware protection called 4D Sandbox, they say in their documentation, sending files to the 4D Sandbox cloud does not block files that it uploads. So what does it do exactly? A question to ask. So all of these elements, all of this innovation that matters, when it was checked using third-party analysts called NSS Labs, it found that compared to other competitors that had to submit both their gateway and endpoint and their email solution, Check Point with one box, with one appliance, achieved the highest catch rate, which is 100%, with the best performance of 10 gigabits, zero false positive, which is very important, and the lowest TCO, something that is not perceptionally typical to Check Point, but again, one box of ours is equal our competitors' gateway, endpoint, and email. So something important to remember. I want to finish with one last word about focus and trust. You see, I was good. When I said I want to finish, they were like jumping out of joy. I'm going to take my time now. I'm going to dance. Okay. One last word about focus and trust. And in order to explain what trust means, I want to show you this one.
We're going to ask you to fall, and then they will catch you. So you have to trust us. So I'm going to count to 3. Just relax and fall. Okay? 1, 2, 3. No!
So sometimes we have a situation when a vendor has vulnerabilities. It happens to Checkpoint. Like our software, in the last 3 years, we had 7 vulnerabilities, and it took us 5.4 days in average to release a patch to those vulnerabilities. It also happened to our competitors. Our competitors, for example, Fortinet, had 124 vulnerabilities in the last 3 years, and it took them an average 137 days to fix it. Again, this is all publicly verifiable. You can look at that link, you can photo the slide, and you can see that since it's measured in the CVE standards, so the vendor has to disclose the time it was disclosed to him and the time it released a patch. So this is something to remember. This is something that shows the trust that customers, when they trust Checkpoint, they know that the sense of urgency is in our DNA with commitment to customer success. And this is achieved, all of this innovation that I discussed, threat extraction, zero phishing, the real-time prevention, and the results from NSS Labs, this is achieved by our R&D, which we have 1,532 people that is comprised of 30% of our headcount. When you compare it to our competitors, you see that our focus on R&D is paramount, and we show it in terms of the ratio, 30% versus 19% or 25% of Fortinet. They also have a lot of hardware engineers for their appliances. It shows the real value of what we appreciate in terms of innovation that matters, which is the true power of R&D. Thank you very much.